Please welcome Senator Elissa Slotkin.
You have fans in the audience.
I mean, thank you. Hi, everybody. And I love the crowd.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Senator.
Thanks for having me, everybody.
So a little bird told, first of all, you get very high marks for your speech. You saw the response right now.
Yeah.
And we were cheering you on also. And I heard, a little bird told me that before you gave it, Senator Schumer called you in, like the principal's office. Were you scared? What happened?
So it was true that Senator Schumer asked for a private meeting with me. And I said to myself, like, I'm in trouble again? Like, how is this possible? I've been a senator for 6 weeks. So I went in and I was expecting to be in trouble, and I was not in trouble. He gave me this honor. The speech is known as kind of a cursed speech, right? Like, I was just trying to not be a Saturday Night Live skit. So we worked on it. We decamped to my family farm in Michigan with a couple of friends and advisors, and we just drilled down and wrote it. And
Did he give you some tips about what to say?
He actually, to his credit, said, like, we trust you, and go and do it. And I said, you know, I need to be able to write the speech that speaks, like, I'm from Michigan, right? So if I think if it works for Michigan, it's going to work for the country. And so I need to be able to do it the way I would do it. And so he did not editorialize. He did not tell me what to say. And that was,
that's good.
I appreciate that.
That is great.
Good to hear.
Now, Senator, you are the youngest Democratic woman elected to the Senate and in a state that President Trump won. That's the tricky part. Now that you are in office, how are you balancing Democratic priorities while kind of appealing to the swing voters of Michigan? And what can other Democrats learn from you?
Well, I think, you know, for me, it's about trying to find those places where we can still work together. If you're from Michigan, right, you know, we grew up, my dad, lifelong Republican, my mom, lifelong Democrat. It was no big deal. We were more likely to fight Michigan versus Michigan State and Democrat, Republican when many of us were growing up. So you're constantly trying to find places where you can work together, but you're being vigilant about protecting your values. And I think that's the way I walk in every day to the job. I also think, you know, Democrats need to be ruthless in what we prioritize. I mean, we can't be for everything, because then we're for nothing. And for me, I think what we need to hear in this last election is people aren't happy with the status quo. They want change, right? They want something different.
They got it.
There's they got it. But there's a reasonable way, and there's a, you know, a reckless way. And I really believe that. So, like I said, you want to make change. Like, I was in the Pentagon, I was at the CIA. We can cut those places. I saw the fat myself. But, like, let's just do it so that we're not making Americans less safe.
But what's the top of your priority list?
For me, the economy. I mean, economics, I think most Americans want economic security. They want to be safe in their own homes. And they want to know that the country we believe in, our democracy, is going to be there for our kids.
So President Clinton was right. It's the economy.
I mean, if people can't afford, you know, the summer camp for their kids or to go on a vacation, they are less generous with their neighbors, right? They feel like desperate. And so for me, that very solid American dream is still the thing that we should all be working on.
Well, Senator, I thought you gave an excellent rebuttal, which, as you said, is kind of cursed, and it was one of the better ones I remember in recent history. But there were also some sort of antics and protests on the House floor that night from the Democrats, which your colleague, Senator John Fetterman, called a sad cavalcade of self-owns and unhinged petulance. It only makes Trump look more presidential and restrained. We're becoming the metaphorical car alarms that nobody pays attention to, and it may not be a winning message. Do you agree or disagree with Senator Fetterman?
So, you know, I think what you saw on the House floor was, like, people feel like passionate, like that. I identified with the frustration that my colleagues had, right? Al Green, you know, standing up, and like that comes from a real place. I think I just prefer myself to do it in a different way. And I think you got to be for something. You can't just be against.
But not the
what Trump's
cards.
doing.
The cards.
I think that, look, I don't think it's a secret to anyone that Trump has Democrats on their heels. I don't think we need to, like, pretend that's not happening. You know, admitting you have a problem is the first step to recovery. And I think that you know, people are trying different things. And it doesn't mean I love every idea, but I identify with that need to try and do something.
Right. Well, Senator, Karine Jean-Pierre was here on our show, and she said, quote, "We have to have a sense of urgency as we move forward, and we cannot do it the way we have in the past. This is not normal. It's a 5-alarm fire." Statistics show that Democrats want an opposition party, not a business-as-usual party, right? 10 of your colleagues voted to censure Al Green, who met the moment, in my view, by standing up for his constituents who depend on Medicaid and Medicare. Why are you and other Democrats, some people say you and other Democrats are playing it safe and, quite frankly, not meeting the moment, playing by the rules when it's clear that the Republicans have thrown out the rule book?
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, to me, again, representing a state where people voted for Trump and voted for me, I have responsibility to represent my entire state. But I don't think there's anyone who feels like what's going on right now is normal, even if you voted for Trump, right? I think there's a feeling in the country. I mean, I often say this, you know, we're about to turn 250 years old, right? We're still pretty young for a country. These are our like our angry teenage years, right? We are going through this push and pull where we're happy, we're sad, we want this, we want that. And what do you do when you have a teenager who's threatening themselves and others? You just try to get them through this period alive so that their brain can fully form and you can come back to kind of what
Are
a
you
country.
talking about Trump?
No, I'm talking about our country. We're pendulum swinging. We're pendulum swinging. And so for me, I think that I don't think there's a single American who feels like this is normal. And therefore,
Do you think
response.
it's a 5-alarm fire?
I think what the president is doing to our economy, you all just talked about it this morning. I mean, like, sorry, people may not know the federal budget. They know their own home budget, and they know exactly how much they're spending. So I think whether it's the economy, whether it's our national security, right, cutting people who keep us safe, and then handing over places like Ukraine to a guy like Putin, or our democracy, right, threats to how we are as who we are as a democracy. I think that we are absolutely in extraordinary times, and it requires an extraordinary response.